I am Mayor Watt. That's ohmTown.com. I stream here on Twitch. I try to do it from 11 to 12 now, but I have a meeting that I need to attend to starting before I have to be there before noon. So I'm going to have to go and start this a little bit early. But that really is kind of lost on everybody who's listening to this via the podcast or watching this over at YouTube. I'm going to also start streaming over at YouTube. And I'll be streaming to both Twitch and YouTube simultaneously through a service called Restream. It adds a little bit of lag. So, but for now, I guess that is a functional okay. I mean, we can do it. And it won't impact me so much. It won't impact anybody in chat on Twitch. And I'll be monitoring YouTube to see how much of a delay is introduced there. That said, let's get into today's news. Again, I have about 20 articles. I'm going to try and get through them as fast as possible. And we'll go from there. Okay. And even while I am doing this, I'm getting pinged about this meeting. So the very first article is in the Warcrafters channel. It says Core Keeper gets dedicated servers, teases first big content update. I love Core Keeper. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the games that I'll probably be streaming on the regular, but I'm really into base building, survival kind of games, and not first person shooters all that much, although I can be asked to play them, and I'm game for anything really. I love playing games, so let's see if I can start streaming that. I think my first 8-hour stream is going to be, or 6 to 8 hour stream is going to be this Saturday, as everything falls away in terms of my responsibilities for dedicated day-to-day stuff kicks off. I basically get a vacation. So Core Keeper gets dedicated servers, teases first big content update. Core Keeper, the Terraria, and Terraria is awesome as well. I was watching Co-Carnage play Keplerth, and that's kind of like a Core Keeper Terraria kind of a game as well, but not exactly sort of like RimWorld, but I don't know. It's an early access game, so you can check out Keplerth as well. But this article is about Core Keeper. It says a blew past 500,000 downloads on Steam in just a couple of weeks after launch. Now it has dedicated servers. I'm cool with that. And I love the idea that you can play it with a small group of people, and it's a co-op game. So you can play it by yourself, or you can let other people join you, and I think that's really awesome. So go and get it. It's over in Steam. Wow, what the heck is going on with this article? I'm gonna go visit the link. The link is over at pcgamer.com. That's the source where my news aggregator called Gatherer goes out and gets a little snippet, but not the brunt of the article. Okay, so while I talk about it briefly, I really do encourage you to click on the show notes and go over to these sources so that you might get something that I overlooked or that I jumped over because of time. I'm more about trying to raise awareness about technology, society, business, and how we're all interacting in that triad. You can try and distance yourself from one of them, but in all cases, if you try and propose to me that you are immune to the machinations, I've been corrected a couple of times now, machinations, then I will explain to you, possibly in great detail, just how wrong, straight up, how wrong you are. I won't pull any punches about it. It's a fact that You cannot get away from one of those three things. Definitely all of them, really. You can marginalize yourself from it, but in all cases, you're definitely being impacted by those three. Anyway, the article over at PC Gamer is written by Andy Chalk. The Sunken Sea expansion will be officially unveiled in June at the PC Gaming Show. I love the idea of this growing. I want it big. I want it a long-term thing, right? Like Terraria, I want it to get traction and stay. And I'm going to be streaming it on the regular as a solo player. And obviously, I'll let people in if they are interested in it. So stop by ohmTown here on Twitch or go over to YouTube, check it out. Always the podcast as well. But I'm going to be streaming games here shortly. Normally it's going to be kind of a chill kind of stream, not wildly crazy and yeah, it's not going to be kind of a crazy stream. So if you like some nice chill music, kind of not hyperkinetic games, no screaming and stuff like that, then come and watch me play some games over at ohmTown. Basically, it's a show that I've been wanting to do called Late Night Geeks, but it might fall in some other category considering I'm not going to be doing it just late at night. That said, Core Keeper is launching a new update, so go check it out. Definitely get in early and come and play Core Keeper. The next article is over in Hatch Ideas. U.S. inflation dips to 8.3. Oh, is that all? But stays close to 40-year high. And I'm going to just click this link because there isn't really much to this other than there's a real conflict with the consumer price index. It's trending, it's accelerating, and not, in my opinion, not slowing down. And let's see if, so right here is the little, the snippet is very brief, but it says the headline annual inflation rate was higher than expected as the core inflation rate, which excludes energy and food, and dipped to 6.3 from 6.5 in March. Analysts said this could be the beginning of a sustained decline in inflation, but won't stop the Federal Reserve announcing more half-point rate hikes in coming months. German inflation hit a new record high of 7.4 last month as food and energy prices jumped, while inflation in China also picked up to 2.1 from 1.5. Absurd. So here in the States, this rate doesn't include energy and food. Accounting for all of it, I would say that we are closer to about 10. And there's a lot of manipulation in the data, mitigating the perceived risk of inflation and trying to head off people running from the market. I don't really see it as the common Joe running from the stock market and trying to be protective of their assets, so much as the institutional investors, ultra rich, large trading platforms. There is so much wealth concentrated in the upper echelons of portfolios that it is really not the middle class and lower that's impacting all of this. And again, I'll reiterate that I think it's entirely fuel. So we'll keep on watching this, but you know, March's 40-year high of 8.5%, I think, is still kind of a manipulation of the numbers and not the real information. Not everything is disclosed. Not everything is included. So let's continue on. That doesn't stop us from still living. We need to keep on being who and what we are. So let's continue on with other things going on in the news around the world. Um, because I'm very interested in all things tech, Band to Bezel was created because I love watches. This is my Apple Watch. Um, I have other mechanical watches, not digital watches, not smart watches, but not a lot. And but I always love the artistry that's involved in it. So this is introducing the cool new green version of the Alpena Sea Strong or Alpena Sea Strong Diver 300 Heritage watch, a brand owned by Citizen and the sister company of Frederic Constant. Alpena or Alpina is all about making accessible, robust sports watch with either a highly modern or vintage vibe, depending on the collection. So let's click the link and go take a look at it. It's over at monochrome-watches.com, and it's written by Bryce Gouliard. Or Goulard. Okay, well, this pretty much strikes every chord I'm interested in. Nice, clean face. This particular model is shiny, so I'm not sure if it's stainless steel. It could be silver. It could be something else. But let's take a look at it. And it's the Sea Strong Diver 300 Heritage, a piece that is modeled after the 10 Sea Strong, the brand's very first super compressor. Although modernized in terms of proportions and case architecture, the Sea Strong Diver is a cool watch that has been presented in various editions, such as the recent Gilt model. And they have links over at monochrome-watches.com to other things that they have spoken of. But it is a diver watch, a diving watch. So it's big, it's substantial. Let's continue on. Look at some of the pictures. But really what I want you to do is just go over and take a look and soak it all in, because I cannot describe adequately what this watch really is. I mean, I could read some of the text, but you really need to soak in the artistry that is watchmaking. So it has a really nice, clean look to it. It looks like the face of the watch has a bevel on the inside. It's either an optical illusion by the glass or the crystal covering the face of the watch that gives it kind of like an upwards tilt where the numbers are. But it's sealed in the back. It doesn't have anything that allows you to see the gearworks. Let's see. Runs at 4 hertz and stores up to 38 hours of energy when fully wound. So let's see how much it is. The new Alpena Sea Strong Diver 300 Heritage Green is released as part of the permanent collection and will be priced at just shy of €1,500. You can go check it out at the actual manufacturer's site, alpenawatches.com. ALPINA watches.com. And they go into additional information at the very bottom. The technical specifications for the watch is over at Alpena or Alpena Watches and monochrome-watches.com. Okay, let's continue on to the next article. The next article is Starstreak, the fastest surface-to-air missile ever made, is bringing down Russian helicopters in Ukraine. The UK has provided its Starstreak anti-aircraft missile to help Ukraine defend its skies. The missile is already bringing down Russian helicopters and winning praise from Ukrainian troops. What's the Starstreak missile that shot down a Russian helicopter? Let's take a look at this. It's over at businessinsider.com, written by Jack Buckby, 1945. I think that is a website, yeah. And you might be interested in that website if you want to go and check it out, 1945. And it says the UK is planning to send Starstreak high-velocity missiles to Ukraine. This thing looks like a beast. I mean, it doesn't look like something. Well, it's not shoulder-mounted. Um, so you can't, I don't think you just man portable kind of thing this around the battlefield. I'm not sure what all is involved in carrying it. So what is Starstreak? A British Stormer vehicle fires a Starstreak high velocity missile September 13th, 2014. So this particular iteration is mounted on some armor. Let me continue down. Okay, that's interesting. There's a picture on the site where the camera is looking down one of the tubes and it's pointed right at a couple of people who are talking. Okay. In the video footage that is linked in this article, Ukrainian troops can be heard celebrating after shooting down a Russian unmanned aerial using a British-made missile. Okay, aerial what? Aerial vehicle. Just so there's no question. The video was clipped together with another video of soldiers thanking the British PM. Maybe I can look a little deeper into this thing. The missile is just 14 kilograms in weight and has an operational range of over 7,000 meters and is designed to minimize collateral damage by increasing precision. Yeah. Definitely hardware can assist in doing that, but it's really where it's aimed, folks. Let's click the next link, go on to the next article, and the author of this article says they drove Ford's F-150 Lightning. The revolutionary electric truck's biggest superpower is how normal it feels. I'm just going to click the link and take us over there. And it's by Tim Levin over at businessinsider.com. And it says, 1 year after Ford unveiled the F-150 Lightning to the world, the revolutionary electric truck is finally on the road, and remarkably, it lives up to the hype. Yeah, I think anything that pushes EVs is a good thing. So I hope that this trend keeps on going. Unfortunately, competition like Rivian, their stock is tanking. It's just imploded. It's off by somewhere around $150 from the 52-week high. And in the last, let me see something real quick. In the last, well, in the year to date, it's down 80. Although the data says 52-week high was 179.47, so it was a lot higher than that, maybe 2 weeks prior. Anyway, for year to date, it's down 80. Right now, it's at 21.46. So Rivian is just taking a beating, and I think it'll probably be acquired. Its technologies will be acquired by Ford. Just my guess. And so this article talks about the basics. It's an electric F-150. It's a lot quieter. It's just as comfortable. It's built on the bones of good design from Ford. The truck comes in 4 trim levels ranging from just under $40,000 for a basic work vehicle called the Pro up to $90,000 for a fully loaded luxury truck called the Platinum. The XLT and Lariat models fall somewhere in the middle, according to the author of the article. A larger battery pack that increases range from 230 miles to 320 miles, but that's an estimate, and it's always an extra cost. The last time I looked at a battery pack that increased the range to that degree, it was something around $15,000, somewhere between 12 and 15, I would suspect. But I haven't looked up the prices for this particular upgrade in an F-150. That said, it looks on the outside like your regular old F-150. Pardon me. Definitely not a Tesla Cybertruck, that's for sure. And I hope that Tesla releases a truck that isn't so wildly styled. If I were to buy a Tesla Cybertruck, I have a full-size garage, and I would probably not be able to park the Tesla in my garage and still have room to change my mind. But I think one of the best things about electric vehicles is that they're roomier because they don't need all of the mechanical stuff built up into the cabin, so that the center of gravity and where the truck is going could possibly hit obstacles underneath it. It isn't below the truck, so everything can just be built into the sled, and the motors are sitting over on the either in the wheel hubs or right next to them. You don't have a combustion engine; you have just these motors. And sometimes there's only one, sometimes there's two, sometimes there's four. It really depends on the sophistication of the specific design and deployment. So on the inside, it looks like your everyday F-150. Nothing in particular is special about it, except that it's all electric and it's a lot quieter and it's easier on the environment, at least in terms of its day-to-day operation. Its initial creation is kind of uh, impactful on the environment because all of this material has to be mined from somewhere, processed somewhere, and there's a lot of chemistry involved, and things get a little odd. Um, anyway, looks like it's got a front trunk, and anyway, let's continue on. I don't want to get bogged down in one article. So the next article is in the Word in Tech channel. Templeton Prize winning physicist pushes back against anti-intellectualism. And really, to me, the people that need to learn the lesson that intellectualism isn't a bad thing or a challenge. It's just a matter that there needs to be people that are focused on being progressive and thinking about the future, and including the past in their uh, holistic understanding of society, and doing fundamental research. I mean, it really shouldn't be something that is seen as a threat, but um, there are quite a few people that are what amount to willfully ignorant, who choose to not question either themselves or history or even the future. They're, I would coin it as regressives, who want to go back in time to the 1600s and continue to oppress people and feign ignorance, even when we are on the precipice of sending humans to another planet. We want to regress and stuff people um, into what they think is right. And it's just a small, loud few. And to me, it is anti-intellectualism. So it says Frank Wilczek, Nobel-winning theoretical physicist, whose research transformed humanity's understanding of the fundamental forces of nature, was announced Wednesday as the winner of the prestigious 2022 Templeton Prize. Let's click this link. Issam Ahmed is the author of the article over at phys.org, and it says the 70-year-old Frank Wilczek told AFP he saw the award as a testament to the inspiring power of science at a time when scientists themselves are increasingly under fire by anti-intellectual elements in society. In the United States, where I live, this is a quote from the MIT professor themselves, where I live, it's in our face in recent years, and a whole political party is dedicated towards it. It's very unfortunate. These people are saying, oh, I can find my own information on the internet. There wouldn't be an internet without understanding quantum mechanics and science and all the hard work that engineers have put into this. Correct. Well, Frank Wilczek, I applaud you. So fight the good fight. And it is the whole reason why anybody has a level of voice that they do is because of the internet. You know, me in my line of work, um, I have an audience, um, regardless of the internet. You know, I can do what I do, but my range, my scope, my reach, my ability to uh, talk with people and to educate and to illuminate. You know, you don't know what you don't know. And so while I can find a lot of information on the internet, it's fundamental researchers at fundamental research colleges and universities that are really changing the dynamic in coordination with corporations. So without corporations, a lot of grant funded work would be gone. And without government, there would be almost no fundamental research in the university level because so much money gets funneled into it. And it goes from this uh, government funded and corporate funded research in universities out into the real world. And it's done at a different level than haphazardly starting up a business and doing the research in your basement where there isn't enough research done before a product might hit the market, and then you end up uh, harming people or property or both. I'm going down a tangent here, only because again this associative thinking process, but we're all tied together, and I can't just leave out the more holistic understanding of all of this. But anti-intellectuals are making a conscious effort to try and stifle any type of holistic understanding of our status here. They want to limit it to a particular thing, and you don't question it. And whatever you're told is the way that it is. And you end up having an echo chamber instead of one that challenges it. Now I'm saying things and I'm doing things, and I encourage you to challenge my preconceived notions, but it's a conversation. It isn't just me saying, and I need to change my camera so that you can see my arms, because right now it just looks like my hands are sitting there. Anyway, I can almost be a VTuber and just kind of move back and forth like that. Anyway, my point is, don't be an anti-intellectual. You think about things. You are questioning the decades and decades of research, literally standing on the shoulders of giants. That is the scientific that is a phrase that references research and thinkers. You have to take what we have done historically and apply it to the future, never letting the bad things happen again, always moving forward and progressing, and giving everybody an opportunity and equity in society. So good on you, Frank Wilczek. I probably am saying your name wrong, but I'm going to move on. The next article is about non-toxic glue for plywood. What? A non-toxic glue for plywood from glucose and citric acid is being talked about in phys.org. So the go-to materials for building home furniture, decor, and floors are composite wood products that come in large sheets. But the glues and resins holding together particle board, fiberboard, and plywood usually contain formaldehyde and could release this probable carcinogen into the air. This is actually, there's been lawsuits about this from home flooring producers, wherein the flooring gave off formaldehyde, referred to as off-gassing. So there's a lot of research being done in trying to produce a bonding agent that doesn't contaminate the air. So it says, to make plywood, manufacturers glue together thin layers of wood and then cure the material under pressure and heat, creating large flexible panels. One of the most common adhesives is a urea formaldehyde resin because it's inexpensive and bonds strongly to wood. However, formaldehyde emissions from plywood with this type of resin have raised health and environmental concerns. Previous studies have shown that the solutions of sucrose, a 2-unit sugar made of glucose and fructose, and citric acid form a natural and water-resistant wood glue, but a zinc chloride catalyst is required to decrease the energy consumption for the plywood curing, which also reduces the adhesive strength. So Hung Lai and colleagues wanted to see if pure glucose and citric acid could produce strong adhesive with less energy-intensive curing process. So they heated the solution of glucose and varying amounts of citric acid into a sticky liquid that they applied to poplar veneers. Then they stacked 3 veneers, pressed them into a single sheet at 392 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 minutes, and found that under pressures greater than 101 psi, the plywood samples all broke along the wood fibers and not at the glued seams. And that's actually pretty typical for modern glued parts. It isn't the glue that fails unless it's improperly applied. So these results satisfy the standard requirement for plywood in China. When the plywood samples were soaked in hot or boiling water, only the ones made with citric acid to glucose ratios above 0.6 had adhesive strengths that satisfied the standard requirement. So there's going to be some noodling around with this. Whoa. And we'll have to monitor this because I use in many of my projects plywood, and I am trying to make sure that there are no carcinogenic or any contaminants, really. It needs to be a natural off-gassing without any chemistry floating around in the air where it can contaminate whatever it might be, not just carcinogen, but I want no harmful off-gassing. Carcinogen always brings up much more darker kind of human responses, but really it just means anything bad for us humans. This article is from the American Chemical Society over on phys.org, and again it's titled A Non-Toxic Glue for Plywood from Glucose and Citric Acid. Pretty simple stuff. I refer to it as sweet, but anyway, it's a little too on the nose, I suppose. This next article is in the Stock Marketeers channel. The Wall Street Journal, Trump-aligned broadcaster OAN airs segment admitting Georgia election workers did not engage in ballot fraud or criminal misconduct. So I'm just going to click this link. It'll take us over to the article. There you go. It's a Market Watch article from the Wall Street Journal, written by Omar Abdel Baki. And it says, a person familiar with the terms of the settlement said One America News was required to air the segment as part of an agreement reached in a defamation suit against the TV channel. So just to get, I'm not really going to belabor this, but I'm going to give the sociological context of this, of how people that watch OAN are going to respond to this. They're going to say that the court is forcing this on somebody and that it isn't the truth, and that the only way for OAN to survive a lawsuit would be to air this. Otherwise, they would be financially harmed and taken off the air. And so it's okay to pretend to believe this so that they can keep on providing the truth via OAN. I know this both from research, and not that OAN has said this, but people who watch OAN will probably be doing the mental gymnastics to make this a reality in their head, and then thus it is the truth that they were forced to do this. And so anecdotally, I have been told exactly that. Just because somebody says something doesn't mean that it's true, because to survive, they have to fake it so that they can continue to fight the good fight, whatever it is. So that's what's happening here. That's what they are going to claim is happening here. Now, I don't think that there was any fraud. I don't think that there has been any issues with our election other than there have been people, but it's the very same people that are crying foul that have been abusing the legal system and the vote system. And um, yeah, I mean, I think that people tried to hack. I know that people did break into computer networks. And it's one of the reasons why I keep telling everybody that cybersecurity and technology is not everybody else's concern. It's everybody's concern because we are being manipulated by the very technology that we are finding our truth in. And I know that because Facebook manipulated the emotional state of its user, of a sample of users way back. It's been almost a decade. But they did it, and they did it without any notice. They did it without any warning. They did it, and it wasn't disclosed until somebody published research material about it. And it was all about emotional contagion. And it's absolutely disgusting that it's being used against people. It's weaponized. The internet has been weaponized, and it's rather disgusting. It should be a place for education and entertainment, not manipulation by those who want to see what kind of damage a person can do on the internet. It's sociopathic to do that kind of stuff. You shouldn't be allowed to do that kind of stuff. And it isn't a matter of, oh well, it's freedom. No. You're being manipulated. Okay, I got to continue on. There's so much more to that it really takes interaction. It needs people talking about it. So let's continue on. A man died of a heart attack while burying a woman he strangled in his yard, police say. This is a man died as he was burying a woman in his backyard in South Carolina. Per WJBF in South Carolina, autopsy results show the woman died by strangulation and the man of a heart attack. Police say they believe the man killed the woman and was burying her in a pit when he died, and the man died of a heart attack. Wild. This is a Business Insider article by Sophia Ankel, Ankel, and it says a Google Maps screenshot of Tanglewood Drive in Trenton, South Carolina, where police said the man and woman were found. Can you imagine that? First off, just strangling somebody is sick and twisted. But then to go and bury one and die in the process, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know if it's interesting or just weird or a combination of both. It says upon arrival, the officials found the body of Joseph McKinnon, 60, who appeared to have died of natural causes, and the deputies also found another body close by that was wrapped in a plastic bag and lying in a freshly dug pit. That body was identified as Patricia Dent, 65, who lived with McKinnon in a residence, and the relationship between McKinnon and Dent is unknown. Well, I'd say that there's something more there, so investigate. Evidence gathered at the scene, along with statements from witnesses, aided investigators to build a timeline, leading us to believe that Mr. McKinnon attacked Ms. Dent while inside their home, and then he wrapped her up and put her in the previously dug pit. And the pit was then partially filled in. And then he died of a heart attack. Wow. Let's continue on to the next article. U.S. adults will consume almost as much media as last year, but TV viewing will decline. Yep, that's because we're all switching over to the internet and apps that are on various internet-powered devices. We are no longer watching broadcast TV. The pandemic drove a dramatic increase in time U.S. consumers spend per day with media. Most of those increases will stick in 2021, but traditional TV will lose all its 2020 gains. Do you work in marketing, media, and advertising? Well, you're going to want to look at this kind of stuff. BusinessInsider.com. Audrey Schomer is the author of the article. And basically, there's a bunch of data points. And to get more information, you have to get into the business insights that Insider Intelligence is providing. But it's a subscription membership thing. So, dun, dun, dun. Let's continue on. The next article is the word in tech. And the article's title is Apple will drop iPhone Lightning port in favor of USB-C in 2023, claims an analyst. And it's kind of coy being termed as claims an analyst. It's Ming-Chi Kuo, who is very prolific as an Apple analyst. And it says, in a pair of tweets, Kuo said Apple is going to make the change in 2023, basing his claim on the unspecified survey, presumably a component manufacturer from whom Kuo seems to get a lot of his information for predictions about future Apple products. Anyway, it's going to be the iPhone 15 that drops any other charging other than wireless and USB-C. So we'll click the link, take us over to The Verge, and gone goes Lightning, which I think is great. I really don't like the Lightning connector, and because it's proprietary, I'd rather have USB-C. After a decade of Lightning, it's time. Is it time for Apple to move on? Yes. I install USB-C in the products that I make, and I use it only for power, not data. So Apple's preparing to swap the proprietary Lightning port on its phones next year for the nearly universally embraced USB-C. And it's just smart. It's very fast. They can have a proprietary version of USB-C, I suppose. Just like the Lightning actually allows, it's actually a proprietary piece of equipment because that's what Apple licensed. But it is more than just Lightning, just more than power. So when everybody switches over to USB-C, it will push the envelope of the technology for USB-C. It'll be more powerful, so it'll have more energy that it can transfer, so it can charge faster, and more, and it can push more data. USB-C is just something that I think is the wired equivalent of pushing the limit of wireless, which is what Wi-Fi 6 is. So together, those two components means that we'll get more and more adoption of wireless and higher speed wired communication through a single cable. And I hope that we can end up using something like USB-C for everything, networking, data transfer, power, all in one cable, instead of having to run multiple things everywhere. I'd rather have a thin USB-C cable running through walls than even Ethernet. But that's a whole different bag of tricks. So I don't think that that's really going to end up happening anytime soon. Sorry. So this article is over at The Verge by James Vincent. Apple will drop iPhone Lightning port in favor of USB-C in 2023, claims analyst. That analyst is Ming-Chi Kuo. The next article is Market Snapshot. U.S. stock futures climb to make or break CPI swings into focus. So let's click the link. I'll take us over to, pardon me, Market Watch. And U.S. stocks bounce in choppy trade after CPI shows inflation slows less than expected. And just a warning, um, MarketWatch tends to update their titles, but not the URL. So if you go to the URL and it's different than the title, just know that that's what happens. This article is by William Watts and Barbara Kohlmeyer, and it says oil surges amid signs of easing COVID cases in China. And again, this just smacks of profiteering. And I keep bringing up that it's sociopathic, but business tends to be, and it's self-reinforcing, because people will sit there and tout, well, a business's objective is to create profit, and that's just marketing so that you can distance yourself from the reality of the fact that you're trying to explain away, hand wave away sociopathic behavior. Creating wealth doesn't necessarily help society in any way, shape, or form. It helps you. And saying, well, if I make more money, then I can put more money invested in other things, and they'll be able to do great things with the money that I invest. Yeah, but it flies in the face of the fact that you're demanding profits in return for that investment, well outstripping any of the original investment. You want multiples of your investment. Oh, well, it's because I'm an investor. Again, you're trying to distance yourself from the sociopathic behavior. You're not trying to do good for society for doing good for society's sake. You're trying to make a profit. Why do you think that tax dollars are spent on lossy programs like grants for fundamental research? Because eventually it will return on your investment, or we'll find 10,000 ways of not to make something. But it isn't up to you to make a profit off of that grant to some research. Why? Because nobody would invest in any fundamental research if it didn't immediately have a return on investment. If that's how everybody treated every enterprise, sometimes there's a loss involved in doing great good. Anyway, so what's driving the markets? This author says gains for stock index futures were erased after data showed April consumer prices rose at an 8.3 annual pace in April, slowing from a more than 40-year high of 8.6. I think this is just a fluke, and that it will start increasing again. There are people that are playing with their money, and it will end up correcting towards the normal trend, which is going to be profiteering. Again, I make that statement. It says, however, the so-called core rate of inflation, which omits food and energy, rose by a somewhat stronger 0.6%. Wall Street had forecast a 0.4%. The increase in the core rate over the past year also slowed from 6.2% from a 40-year high of 6.5. And again, wealth is too concentrated, and it will end up correcting so that the wealth is still increasing the inflation rate. So the next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel. Peloton is a best-in-class fitness stock that can go up 93% from here, JMP says. So I'm going to click the link. I'm actually running kind of behind, so I'm going to have to keep hustling through this. This is an article by Sarah Min. And the JMP here says that Peloton is going to increase. I don't see that happening. I think that the pandemic showed that it had hit peak Peloton, and that Peloton is on its way out. It'll be acquired by somebody in short order, I think, and it's in an untenable position. People are now going back out. They'll be going to gyms if they don't change their ways, if Peloton doesn't find some other way, namely lowering the membership cost, lowering the price of the bike so that it's included in the membership cost, and trying to get away from the impact of the pandemic. It saw its peak, and I don't think that it can go up from there. It can only mitigate losses and find some stasis. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, and we'll see. I think that within 3 years it'll be acquired. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Rising food prices drive German inflation to a second consecutive record. And this is in large part, I believe, due to the rising fuel costs. Diesel fuel in particular has skyrocketed, trending towards $7. In some locations it's higher, some locations it's lower. And you can sit there and look at the averages and whatnot, but the reality is that this increase in diesel fuel, and diesel fuel is required by large industrial equipment. I'm not surprised that rising food prices drive German inflation to second consecutive record. Germany saw consumer prices rise 7.8% in April as compared to a year ago, driven by high food and energy prices pushed up by the war in Ukraine. I think that it's not necessarily Ukraine. There are opportunities to lower these costs, but people, and I'm talking about the producers, the ones that bring it into market, the farmers may be able or willing to take the hit in their bottom line, the margin, the profit margin. But I think there's so many food producers and energy producers that have been concentrated into a select few with the same ideology, that we're really in an untenable position to fight this. We need more competition, but it's just not going to happen. And while the conflict exists, the conflict isn't the only thing that's making this price increase. I think it's fuel and food producers that are concentrated in their influence, and they're raising rates so that they can profit because of the losses that they've endured over the last 2 years of the pandemic. They're going to scrape money away, even though the purpose of the capital infusions in markets was to mitigate this enormous rise in inflation and soften the blow of the losses. Really, everybody saw it, and by everybody I mean the people with the means to produce for the many that consume. That infusion of capital is just being gathered up by a select few, and concentrating that wealth. It should be floating around in the middle class, but it is far from it. So let me continue on with the next. I've only got 3 more articles. People are using job listings to sabotage companies that mistreat their workers. Job listings seem like an unlikely space for political activity, but with the wave of strikes last fall and thousands of workers at Starbucks, Apple, and Amazon unionizing for the first time this year, online job listings and the application process associated with it have evolved into a powerful tool that labor and tech activists are using to effectively sabotage and expose the efforts of companies that union bust and mistreat their workers. In recent months, tens of thousands of people on social media have collectively derailed efforts to hire anti-union consultants and strikebreakers at Starbucks, Kellogg's, and Kroger by spamming application pools with tens of thousands of fake applications. And this will be mitigated through the very technology that everybody is using. This article is over at vice.com and written by Lauren Gurley, Gurley, just in case you go looking for who the author is. Hopefully I'm pronouncing their name right, so correct me if I'm wrong. But it says in a TikTok video from February, Gen Z for Change coder Sophia Ongele, I guess, Ongele, says, let's talk about Starbucks. In case you missed it, they fired 7 of their Memphis workers who are trying to unionize. They even took it upon themselves to launch an entire anti-union website. But unions are good. They protect workers, she says, before mentioning Change is Brewing, a super cool website that my friends and I made that make it easy for you to flood the application pool. Yeah, they'll just turn off that website's submission process. You can just block it. And if more come in from a different IP, you block that IP too. Or the client profile of what's being supplied into that system. Anyway, I'm going to get distracted and not be able to do this. The next article is in the Smack Talk channel. Mophie introduces Apple Store exclusive USB-C GAN adapters. So these gallium nitride adapters, power chargers, basically, they're just chargers, they're wall chargers. They are fast, reliable, and cooler than old school wall chargers, wall warts. And it says the Mophie Speedport 30 and Speedport 67 are two new Mophie chargers. So as you can imagine, the 30 is 30 watt and the 67 is 67 watt. And for me, I turned to Anchor, but I'm willing to try out others, particularly if they remain cooler. My watch on a charger tends to heat up when it's charging. I would prefer it staying cool. Heat is the bane of technology and everything, really. Obviously, cold is bad too, but only in the extreme. Whereas heat is destructive at any level. The heat increases the temperature of something, that the atoms literally pull apart more and more. And that's what heat does to anything. It basically causes it to destroy itself. So you want to keep electronics cool. This article over here is in the appleinsider.com website by Wesley Hilliard, and has pictures of the Mophie wall warts. They look just like every other USB-C wall wart, except the insides are a gallium nitride technology that, for all intents, it's supposed to keep things smaller and cooler and faster. So let's see, the 30 is available for $45 and the 67 is available for $70. And really, once you buy them, they don't go bad. I mean, they just last seemingly forever. I don't have, now that I've said it out loud, the universe will conspire and destroy my wall warts, but I've never had one fail. I've had cables fail because the cables have been abused, but I have not had a charger, a wall wart, ever fail. And USB-C just makes it more more capable for more devices. Instead of having Lightning or USB, the old school USB-A, USB-C, or USB-B, the type of connector really makes a difference in its longevity. So I can always plug a USB-C in the dead of night, any direction, plug it in, done. But old school other USB styles, you break the connector, it's big and bulky. I don't know, it just doesn't matter anymore. Just everybody switch to USB-C is what I'm getting at. Anyway, let's go on to the very last article, which really is just a hint at the fact that I'm really interested in 3D modeling now. I would really like to develop some more content for Constructagon, which is a show that I want to bring that talks about 3D modeling, talks about the models themselves, the designers and the various softwares, 3D printing, resin, and the various filaments, etc. And so this is actually a month-old article at this point, but it's 3D modeling in ZBrush, a beginner's guide, and I just want to throw that out there. to people. If you are interested in 3D modeling, or you are already skilled in 3D modeling and you want to talk shop about this kind of stuff, then get in touch, come to the show, let me know. And, there might be opportunities out there for you that are not necessarily just doing ZBrush or 3D modeling for other people, but talking about it and building a community around 3D printing here in ohmTown. So let's click the link. I'll take you over to 3dinsider.com, one of my sources for 3D modeling related material. And Joseph Flint is the author of this. And like I said, it's April 24th here on the article. But it goes over what ZBrush is and some of the basics, navigation, the sculpting tools, all kinds of stuff, really. I mean, it's a pretty long article, but I'm not going to show it all to you. I want you to go over to 3D Insider and click the link that's in the show notes, and it'll take you there. Just, click the link that's in the show notes. You'll get taken to ohmTown, and then click visit the source, and it'll take you over to 3dinsider.com. Ta-da! Okay. With that in mind, I am done with today's show. I always take you back to the very front of the show, and then I click on that front page or on the logo for ohmTown, and boom, you get a whole lot. And lately, my aggregator seems to be reaching out to jewel crafting related sites, which really is about an article, and then there's some content within it that gets updated periodically, and that's why it keeps showing up. Some like seed bead designing and purse charms and how to attach a charm to a leather cord. If you are a maker, then you'd like the create category inside ohmTown, although all of the categories here should have relevance to some degree. So it's all about, I guess, picking your niche, unless you're like me and you like all of the topics that are included right now. If you have additional sources for news and information, please send them my way, and I will include them in my aggregator so that I can be better informed and have a more holistic show. With that in mind, thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Take care. Bye-bye.